Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order. City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within them. We recognize all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on this land where we all now reside together. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection from our clerk, Doug Irvin.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others, so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, I'd like to call this public meeting to order and thank you for joining us here. The City of Belleville continues to work to update the Community Improvement Plan. The update is an important step in supporting investment and development across our city. Our priority is expanding housing options, advancing downtown revitalization, and encouraging redevelopment of contaminated lands. Please note that no final decision or approval will be made today, as this is a statutory public meeting to gather input. Our project consultants from Dillon Consulting and Sierra Planning and Management will provide a presentation outlining the proposed changes to the CIP, including new housing incentives, support through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. The presentation will also highlight how CIP will support local businesses and promote sustainable growth across the community. After the presentation, I will first invite members of council to ask any questions they may have. Once council's questions are concluded, I will open the floor for comments from the public. And I would call the consultants now to give their presentation.
Okay. Good evening, good early evening. My name is Amy Greenberg. I'm here with Dillon Consulting, and beside me is Asia Bedordanova from Sierra Planning Management. And today I'd like to go over the updates to the Community Improvement Plan with focuses on housing, downtown revitalization, and Brownfield redevelopment. So just an agenda for today's meeting. Quickly going over the project overview, how we got to where we are today. I'll then give an overview of the new CIP, specifically which programs we've updated, how the Housing Accelerator Fund comes into play, which programs may be enhanced by half funding, and then I'll go into the funding and implementation of the CIP as well as holding accountability to council, and then some quick updates on the next steps. So just for a project overview. So again, I am from Dillon Consulting. The city had retained us and Sierra Planning Management to tackle the updates to the existing Community Improvement Plan from 2019. So just to quickly go over what a Community Improvement Plan is. So Section 28 of the Planning Act allows a municipality to provide funds to the private sector, usually to target areas of community benefits. So in the case of Belleville CIP, it's for affordable housing, or generally speaking, housing right now, missing middle and affordable housing units, the continued revitalization of the downtown and waterfront area, as well as continued improvements for environmental revitalization and rehabilitation of contaminated sites to unlock land. So how does a CIP work? So the CIP in this case has 15 programs that council has the ability to decide whether to activate or deactivate as part of the annual budgeting process. Eligible program participants would apply. It is a participation-based process where if they meet a set of eligibility criteria, they could be eligible to receive funding, and they would then enter into a legal agreement with the city. And usually, typically, funding is provided after they've met what they needed to achieve through that agreement. And so why did we need to update this plan? So the existing CIP was from 2019 at a time where it was a pre-COVID economy. Now construction costs, labor costs, interest rates are quite high, and there's a bit of an imbalance between what we need in terms of housing development in general, and what the market can actually provide. So with that, responding to a broken market, this viability gap can be supplemented and supported through a CIP. The intention is to kind of lessen the costs at the front end to make it easier for a developer to build housing, because it is no easy or affordable feat. And then for downtown revitalization, the existing CIP was very successful in its facade improvement programs. We essentially wanted to take a peek at how it's been done, how it's been going, find opportunities to improve based on feedback we had received from the public. For example, I will get into it, but we ended up separating out the signage piece of the facade improvement grants to have it be its own, with interest heard from tenants of the same building who would like to apply more than once. And then for brownfields, again, just seeing what's been done so far, understanding that the market is a bit challenging. And so the CIP is intended to increase the funding to accommodate today's needs in the realm of environmental rehabilitation. So also building on the HAF fund money. So the city has received funding geared towards building new units as quickly and readily as they can. So the CIP is the key mechanism to unlock the ability to use that funding. So again, quick recap, the focus of the CIP is still what it was before, except modified and updated to today's circumstances. So affordable and missing middle housing is a key objective of the HAF fund. So stimulating the development of housing supply specifically to affordable housing and missing middle units, but also housing in general. Downtown revitalization, continuing to build on the success so far of the facade improvement programs, and then brownfield redevelopment, again, to update based on the current market, but also acknowledge the HAF requirement of trying to unlock land for the purpose of building affordable housing. So how the CIP will benefit your community, greater variety of housing options. Again, the focus is on missing middle and affordable housing, with missing middle being things like duplexes, fourplexes, low-rise apartments, semi-detached dwellings. Yeah, that's the main things. And then another thing is continuing on what was in the previous CIP was providing funding to those who provide accessibility improvements to their homes and businesses. So where we are in the project timeline, we are taking steps towards approval of the CIP. But we aren't quite there yet. Today is more for informative purposes, hoping to gather feedback from you and help shape the final draft of the CIP. The intention is to then take it back to council for the implementation of it in the early winter of 2026. So, an overview of the new CIP. And I say new because despite it being an update to many existing programs, it was a bit of an overhaul to get it where it is today, to make sure it is as modernized and effective as it can be. So the goals are still to facilitate the citywide development of housing, support downtown revitalization through the rehabilitation of its existing buildings. We had heard that there was interest in trying to make the downtown feel as safe as possible. So there is a lens applied to that, assisting in the remediation and redevelopment of brownfield sites, and then improving the overall quality of life and human health. So how we updated the CIP. We started with a background review. We looked at the city's policies, bylaws, and their recently created HNA, Housing Needs Assessment, to understand the housing needs as recently as 2025. I think it was April 2025. And then make sure that the program's updated to suit those needs accordingly. We then participated in a scoped market assessment to understand what is happening from the developer's perspective, what is happening on the ground. So we had interviewed them to understand what their barriers are to development. We had also interviewed local business representatives to understand the downtown revitalization side of things, to see what was working, what wasn't working, what they could benefit from in terms of funding through the CIP. And then finally, we engaged the public through In-person consultation in September. We had also put out an online survey to, again, get a sense of what is working, what is not, and try and have as wide a reach as possible. So on the screen is the community improvement project area. You'll see the inset map in the top left outlined in yellow. That is the urban serviced area of the city. That is the applicability for all of the housing programs, essentially saying we want housing wherever it could be developed. This says if you meet the eligibility criteria for the housing programs, you should be able to build it where you are, where your property is. And then looking at the map, the black outline is for the downtown improvement programs, and then the red is for the Brownfield priority area. And you can see that the focus is on the waterfront and the downtown. So diving into the proposed financial incentive programs, for the housing programs, we've proposed 6 of them, one of which is a top-up rebate, which says if you've applied for any of these housing programs and are eligible, if you also provide accessibility features, at least $3,000 worth of features, you could be eligible for this top-up. Otherwise, in terms of new programs, we have 3 new programs. The Missing Middle Per Door Grant, which I will get into shortly. We have the High Density Residential Municipal Fees Grant, which for higher density projects, they would get a rebate on the fees associated with their planning fees or building, like some building permit fees. And then the Municipal Lands Program is a special one, which essentially allows the municipality to lease or sell their land at a lower rate for the purpose of building affordable housing. So the CIP acts as the mechanism to allow that to happen. For downtown revitalization, there are 4 programs, 2 of which have been updated, and then 2 are new. As I had said earlier, one of the new ones is the signage grant. Again, building off of what we had heard through community engagement, that there was interest in having a dedicated signage grant that tenants could, like multiple tenants on one site could apply for them. And then the Built Form Security Measures Grant was the one specific to trying to improve the perception and realness of safety in the downtown core. And then we had 5 proposed programs for Brownfield redevelopment. All of these were updates to the existing programs. Would you like to say anything before I move on? I don't think so.
Maybe we move on to the next slide, and we'll just briefly introduce what the Brownfield programs are for. Brownfields are developed or previously developed sites that require that may be contaminated. So if they require exploration or decontamination, these programs are designed to support owners of those properties to redevelop those sites. And to say in addition, if those sites are redeveloped for housing purposes as they are defined in the CIP as the priority housing purposes, so those property owners might be eligible for higher support, for larger or higher support as is outlined in the CIP. So the 4 programs that are updated are Brownfield Environmental Site Assessment Rebate, support in conducting studies and identifying the level of contamination, Brownfield Tax Increment Equivalent Rebate, Brownfield Building Permit Fee Rebate, and one program which is called Brownfield Environmental Remediation Tax Cancellation Assistance is a program that may be activated by the city should the province support its contribution to this program. So this is a very brief update. If there are any questions, we'll provide details later.
So with that, as I had said, we provided 15 programs in the CIP, 6 of which may be enhanced with the half funding. So I will quickly get into what those enhancements are. So to begin, the first 2 on the screen, homeowners can benefit from these ones. So the accessible dwelling units rebate or accessory dwelling units rebate can be up to $30,000 for 3 additional dwelling units on their property. And again, I had mentioned that accessibility top-up rating. We increased the amount to up to $8,000 per unit with half funding. Going into this next one, this is one of the newer ones. This is the Missing Middle Per Door Grant, where it, depending on the tenure of the home, whether it's rental or ownership, indicates how much funding may be available. So if you provide affordable rental units, which is meeting the greatest need in the community, you can get up to $60,000 per door. But in looking at this table, you can have anywhere from 3 times to double the eligible amount that you would have without the half funding. So the key takeaway for this program is it essentially doubles the baseline grant for most of the units, and this allows the city to offer up to $60,000 per door for a new affordable rental unit. And this comes back to the competition of securing developers in an economic climate where it is hard to secure that development potential. And so again, this helps deal with the upfront financial support that helps make these kinds of projects viable for the private market developers. And then going into this high-density residential municipal fees rebate, it rebates, let me have them listed. So you have rebates on your minor variance fees, consents, site plan approval, building, demolition, and permits, and cash in lieu of parkland dedication. So the key takeaway from this one is that it is supporting the nonprofit development community, supporting everyone, but most importantly, the non-market development community. So we had increased the cap from $20,000 to $200,000, and we can really only do that with that half funding. So this again helps to reduce those soft costs that often kill those nonprofit projects before they even break ground, hoping to make Belleville a preferred partner for these organizations. We are also topping off some of the Brownfield redevelopment programs, specifically Program 11, the Environmental Site Assessment Rebate, and then the Brownfield Building Permit Fees Rebate, and it's specifically if a Brownfield redevelopment results in new housing, as Asia had said, it is eligible for this additional funding, and this aligns our Brownfield goals directly with the housing targets. So the intention of these programs is to stack with existing funding and even to stack with other programs in the CIP. The more they can provide, the more that it meets the goals of the city, the more funding that they could receive, that they may receive. And so this is, again, to allow developers to be able to access every single dollar that they possibly can, and again, make their projects more viable. And again, the intention is to have them stack on other funding sources as well, whether it be from the county, from CMHC, or the province. So accelerating approvals, things are moving very fast. And a key update to this CIP is that delegation authority has been put towards the manager of policy planning or their designate for all 15 programs. And this is because the intention now is to set these objectives and have council approve the direction of it. So theoretically, once that's done, all of the requirements for each of the programs are spelled out in the CIP. Theoretically, they've been approved, and it should be a quick and easy yes or no, depending on the application, if they've met the criteria, the baseline. And it's intended to give council more time to focus on other key priorities. And this way, this allows the city to get the incentive agreement started and start moving these projects along and having those building permits pulled. So in terms of funding the CIP, annually, as part of the budgeting process, the amount of money that would be allocated to any of the programs would be decided upon. And it's usually also at that time where you may decide which ones you'd like to turn on and off. And in this case, prioritizing those that would be enhanced with the half is a good start. But the nice thing is, because we've included all of these CIP programs in the CIP itself, depending on how monitoring goes, or if there's large uptake or you're veering towards running out of the funding that has been allocated, you can just simply turn them off. And I'll get into that in a second, but the nice thing is, if funds are depleted, by the time that the half funding has run out, you can simply turn them off, or if they're successful, you can decide if you want to allocate more funding to these programs to keep them going. But you don't need to go through a formal amendment process to do so. So kind of going back to this turning them on and off, we like to call it a flexible bank of light switches. So it allows you to adapt to the changing market conditions without needing to do a formal amendment process. So it gives you discretion over which ones you would like to have on and off. And again, the city would be providing you with updated monitoring reports on some key indicators that I'll get into in the next slide that allows you to decide whether or not you would like to keep them going or shut them off. And again, unless you're doing a major change like adding new programs or changing the boundary area, you don't need an amendment to turn off these programs or turn them on. Accountability. So despite the approval authority being delegated to the manager of policy planning, there will still be accountability held to council on how things are going. The intention is that city staff will be providing annual or quarterly performance reports to council depending on how quickly things are moving. And it'll monitor key metrics like program uptake, financial assessments, and of course, whether or not we are meeting the half funding targets and we are pulling the building permits that we need to pull. And then the intention is once the CIP is approved, the city will produce a financial forecast to outline the expected outcomes of the CIP to help serve as a baseline for monitoring. So in terms of next steps, I will prepare a tabulation of feedback if we receive any today from you. And then with that, in consideration of the feedback received, we will update and finalize the CIP to get it ready for the adoption stage, assuming it passes the 20-day statutory appeal period pending no appeals. After council has adopted the CIP, it will come into force. Those that you intend to activate from the start will be activated, and at that point, the incentive programs will be open for those who would like to apply. And again, I had said this before, but I'll say it again. The intention is also to produce a future financial forecast to outline the expected outcomes of the CIP following its approval. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I will ask if there are any additional comments before closing the public meeting. I will ask again if there are any additional comments before closing the public meeting. And the third time, I will ask if there are no further comments. I will now adjourn the public meeting. Thank you. I need a motion to approval of the minutes of the council meeting held November 10th, 25th be approved. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Minutes of the special council meeting on November 18th, 25th. The resolution of the minutes of special council meeting held on November 18th, 25th be approved. Moved by Councillor Sue, second by Councillor Kelly. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. We have a recognition of if Brenda Van de Keere is here, award of merit for Older Adult Centers of Ontario. Do we have an award?
We're just trying to get it for you, Your Worship.
Okay.
Please just run over.
I guess we're waiting for the awards. Sorry about that. Anyways, we'll have to kill some time. So congratulations on your award. And,
There's the email that was sent over.
okay.
Here she goes. I got it.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Good thing you're on the clock, right? Brenda joined the City of Belleville team in January 2023 and took the lead in our 50-plus center as the coordinator. As the only full-time paid staff member to oversee this area, she has been fully committed to improving the lives of seniors in our community. Come forward, come on, step up here, don't be shy. From day one, Brenda has tried to get to know all the members of the center, and she works with all the users and groups to ensure they are happy. Along with program growth and success, Brenda has spearheaded projects and initiatives for the improvement of our seniors, like volunteer recruitment, training, and appreciation. Started a 50-plus center advisory group and increased our programming by offering a wider selection: music, walking club, additional yoga, karate, to name a few. She also implemented a number of social gathering opportunities: Strawberry Social, Christmas Get-Together, which is coming again, right? I'll be there, hopefully, if I got invited, but I'm on the bad list. She also implemented initiated a new Links to Wellbeing program, connecting with community agencies, including our local county paramedic services, enabling additional people to participate in programs. Brenda's involvement in our center has meant people feel very welcome. More people have joined and are participating in the programs, and overall awareness of the 50-plus center has improved drastically. Brenda is truly passionate about what she does. The enjoyment in what she does shows through loud and clear whenever you get to see her interacting with clients, both seasoned and new. Her smile and compassion go far. Look at that smile. So congratulations. And I guess that's the recognition of the award of merit, so congratulations on doing that. So, yes, thank you for all you do. Make understand yours. Oh, we gotta get up, we'll move up front. Did you want to speak to council over here? Talk about budget or anything like that? Or? More money for the seniors. More money for the seniors. More money for the seniors, all in a little second. I'll share. Okay, congratulations, thanks. Okay, I need a motion that council will go into committee of the whole at 4:27. Hear and consider reports passing on recommendations and resolution with Councillor Enright Miller in the chair. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor, carried.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will start with reports 8A. The agenda shall include, under reports, items that warrant individual attention from council. 8A1, proposed water and wastewater rates for the city of Belleville, effective January 1st, 2026, and the resolution reads that pursuant to report number DDF-2025-13, the proposed rate for water and wastewater be included in the consolidated rates and fees bylaw for council's consideration. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Brown, a seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Well, I'm going to say the same words again, say every year. There's only one taxpayer. What I'm concerned with, it's, we're looking at a tax increase of 5 or over, but now we're looking at sewer and water rates of 5 or over every year. And, we've gone from, what's confusing for me is, when I first got on here, which is a couple of years ago, we looked at 2 or 3 or 4%. Now every year we're looking at 5 or 6%. And again, there's only one taxpayer. What I'm concerned is what's throwing up the rates as high as they are on a regular basis? Is it cost of doing the business? Is it staff? Can somebody explain that to me?
Manager Brianna McNevin.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. Really, the main driver to the increases from year to year for the water and wastewater rates, it really lies with wastewater. We're seeing a very nominal increase in the water side, about 1.6%, very consistent with prior year. And as outlined in the asset management plan that was approved in July of this year, we're seeing a lot of capital pressures when it comes to wastewater, some anticipated debt in that area, and the asset management plan outlined that we would require an increase of about 4.58% just in our asset management or capital contribution alone to service the upcoming projects for wastewater.
So in the rates for wastewater, we're fairly low compared to the rest. Why is that? Is that we've just budgeted better, or why are we so much lower than the rest?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, in terms of our neighboring municipalities or wastewater?
Wastewater, like Quinte West and Prince Edward County are both higher than us.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. It may be a little bit because we have a different structure than those of our neighbors, Quinte West and Prince Edward County. We have a surcharge, which is a percentage of our water rates. So at the end of the day, both services are self-sustainable. They both serve each other, and they both have a very similar revenue requirement. So it really will just depend on the inputs as it relates to operating needs and capital.
And I finish up, but normally we have in this scenario, Quinte West and Prince Edward County. Do we ever survey other municipalities our size to see what their water and wastewater rates are?
Through the chair.
Curiosity.
Yep, through the chair to Councillor Thompson. We do look at the rates. We primarily focus on our neighbors. I know I can tell you right now, Loyalist Township's rates are higher, which is a neighboring municipality.
Thank you, Manager McNevin. Any other questions? Councillor, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just through to Ms. McNevin, the question was asked about looking at different water and wastewater providers in different municipalities. Quinte West and Prince Edward County don't have the same exact water system as us in terms of capacity, and therefore the charges reflect the cost associated with running a different operation in Belleville than there is in Quinte West and Prince Edward County. I think I know the answer to that, but I'd like you to just say it out loud if you don't mind.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, it really just depends on the makeup of what we treat and produce every single day. A lot of the costs associated with producing water in municipalities are primarily fixed. So ultimately, it's distributed among the different ratepayers, and it will depend on how much they consume. That will depend on what their proportion of fixed versus consumption rate is. But ultimately, it's a revenue requirement that is fully self-sustainable. So it is user pay.
Yeah, just in terms of, like, it can't be exact because, again, our system, the size of it, how much is being used, the demand, and what's required to fund it is different than in, say, Quinte West or Prince Edward County. So comparing the rates, because it's self-funded, is not really reasonable because you have basically 3 different distinct operations with different water demands, different usage demands, different systems, basically, in a lot of ways, that would warrant the costs associated with running the Belleville operation, which would be certainly different from Quinte West or Prince Edward County. Is that fair?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, yes, that's absolutely fair. And also the rate structure that's set up by each municipality. In the city of Belleville, we have a declining rate, so although we do see a lot of consumption revenue come from our commercial customers as well, they do pay a lower rate the more they use. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Question for you, Brianne. We know that there are homes in the city of Belleville that get behind their taxes. Can you kind of give us a picture of folks that might get behind their water bill, and what's the game plan, and what's the strategy for the city to try to recoup that, and what kind of money are we talking in the course of a year?
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly. We have a number of collection activities that we can undertake, and it really just depends on whether they're an owner or a tenant. But ultimately, we have the power to send certain unpaid water bills to taxation, so we have a pretty strong collectability there. And then we have a process where we will visit the residents, we will offer payment plans, there's a lot of options for us to provide to our customers.
Just to follow up, on occasion, do we shut the water off at a home that may have children attending, parents are in a financial struggle? Like, does that scenario happen?
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly, it has happened in the past. We would threaten to shut water off, but before then we have exhausted all of our options as it relates to that. We also work closely with our partners to make sure that they are provided any resources to help alleviate or pay their bill. And then we have the leak forgiveness policy too, which has helped with customers that are maybe experiencing a higher than normal bill. So it's not very often that we get shut off, but I don't know if Director DeCola knows how often we shut off service, but I don't know that number offhand.
And final one, through you, Chair. We would know the taxes that people are behind, or we would be able to figure that out. What kind of money would we be talking just about? water, wastewater? What kind of money? Thousands a year? What's the deal on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, we're looking, do you have the answer in front of you? We're looking at less than 10% of our overall revenue. That would be uncollectible at year end typically.
Okay, just another follow-up, just so everybody can follow along. 10% of what is the revenue?
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly, it's about $18 million for water.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Brian. 8A2, Housing Accelerator Fund Update and 2026 Outlook. The resolution reads that report number PP 2025-16 dated November 24th, 2025 regarding the Housing Accelerator Fund update and 2026 outlook, including project status updates, be received, and that pursuant to the Manager of Policy Planning report number PP 2025-16, the 2025 operating budget be amended for item D4-4 to D4-10 to include the addition of 3 new contract positions as outlined in the report number PP 2025-16 with sufficient funding available within existing project budgets. May I have a mover? Councillor Carr, seconder. Councillor Sioux, any discussion? Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I know when the public hears, adding 3 temporary staff, they want to know immediately where that money's coming from, and it's clear within the report. That's federal money through the Housing Accelerator Fund. Through you, I do have one question with regards to Housing Accelerator projects completed to date, and there's quite a number of them and some exciting ones that are currently underway. But just in terms of the ones that are completed to date, and some of those are requirements of the Housing Accelerator Fund program that have to be completed. But how many of those have translated into increased building or faster processing of applications to get building underway?
Manager Deming, could you take that?
Good afternoon. Through the chair to Councillor Carr. You're right, there's been a number of completed projects that, as they come into fruition, development generally takes time. I would say, while we don't have the exact numbers tied to each one, some of the ones that increase the level of intensification that we allow, so some of the residential 4 units as of right, for example. Another major one would be the residential upgrade we did for some of the key corridors, where we rezoned them from R1 to R2. I think that was approximately 1,200 properties that we upzoned. That itself allows for a significant level of development that previously wouldn't have been allowed in those corridors. So while we haven't necessarily seen those completely translate into units yet, that development opportunity is there now. In terms of processing speed, I would mention the implementation of e-permitting through CityView. That has allowed planning staff to now use that CityView process. That has helped speed up our application review times, as well as our development tracker, which is a publicly funded document that tracks our development approvals. Where we're building, that level of access of information is also quite helpful to the development community.
Okay, so just as a follow-up, Madam Chair, so it's safe to say that some of these initial Housing Accelerator Fund projects that were completed create the fertile ground in which development can occur, and the upzoning that's occurring, the e-permitting, and I know planning staff already do a great job and have been doing a great job long before this Housing Accelerator Fund in moving applications forward. But this intensifies, I guess, things moving along, and at that point, I guess then it's up to development then to utilize these various programs and utilize the expedited processing of e-permitting and things of that nature to move their projects along. Is that fair to say?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, absolutely. Municipalities are not builders. All we can do is create the environment that they can come and build in. So these programs, as well as the community improvement plan, which you heard about earlier tonight, those are the types of projects that we're working on to create that environment that is ready for development.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Deming. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 8A3, Property Standards Bylaw Set Fines. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Bylaw Enforcement's report number MBECS 2025-33, Property Standards Bylaw, Set Fines, Council approve the proposed set fines under the Provincial Offences Act for the Property Standards Bylaw, and that the appropriate documentation be submitted to the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Brown, seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to just read out a section of this report because in the past several months, we passed a number of bylaws where there was set fines attached to it. It's interesting because sometimes the minute that City Council will set fines on something, it's automatically viewed as we're just trying to raise revenue and, you know, put more money in the bank, so to speak. But the report's very clear, and I appreciate that, and it's repeated in some of the other reports we're going to receive here, but set fines are not deployed as a mechanism for revenue generation. Instead, they serve as a critical tool to maintain compliance and uphold community standards when other measures are ineffective. Ultimately, preference will be given to friendly resolution with charges and fines reserved for multiple repeat violations. So it's good to see that right in there, that clearly, you know, staff want to work with residents where there needs to be some correction, and then those fines are there to gain compliance, but obviously not the preferred method and not, you know, designed as a revenue generation tool. So I think that just needs to be emphasized as we review some of these set fines. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Any others? Councillor Sue.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. I have one question for bylaw enforcement, if I could, about the property standards bylaw set fines.
Manager Hill.
Basically, it says that the revenue generated from fines will contribute to covering expenses and enhancing community education initiatives. It also indicated that the fine is costly enough to be considered a deterrent, but it's not high enough to be considered punitive. I'm glad to see that some of the revenue will help strengthen community education. Could you share a bit more about the kinds of outreach or educational efforts that envision to help residents understand and meet our property standards, please? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. So when we talk about property standards bylaw, we're talking about the occupancy standards of buildings and the maintenance standards for the upkeeps of those buildings. So when we talk about what kind of education, a lot of the internal things that tenants may experience are usually complaint-based. We have a very hard time addressing those things proactively because they are based off of the internal inspections of a building. So when we do receive a complaint, we let them know what the tenant rights are. We let them know what they are and they aren't able to do, kind of set the expectation of what our scope of authority is. Then we will reach out to the property owner in a friendly method if we have the availability to. Now, if we can't and the tenants aren't able to give us the proper information, or we cannot connect with the property owner or the landlord, we will issue something called an order to comply. The order to comply lays out that the requirements or the deficiencies of the building. So they have the opportunity to address them. So we basically say, this is what it needs to be, this is where it's at, this is how you bring it there, this is your timeline to get it done. If they are willing to work with us, we will absolutely extend that timeline as much as reasonable to accomplish it without escalating to any of these additional enforcement matters.
Well, thank you so much, Manager Hill, for illuminating explanation. Thank you so much, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sue. Thank you, Manager Hill. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 8A4, Parks Bylaw Set Fines. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Bylaw Enforcement Report number MBECS 2025-34, Parks Bylaw Set Fines, Council approved the proposed set fines under the Provincial Offences Act for the Parks Bylaw, and that the appropriate documentation be submitted to the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval. Can I have a mover? Councillor Brown, seconder, Councillor Kelly. Any discussion? Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, and maybe I could just ask this question to Manager Hill. Thank you for the report. I'm going through it. There's a couple of things that did disturb me. And I just wondered regarding some of the set fines, specifically number 17, to kill, attempt to kill, maim, injure, trap, or disturb an animal, and allow a pet to kill or injure another animal. And I note that those fines are around $400, and I just wonder if that's not enough, for something of that nature. And can you sell me on the idea why $400 is enough and why it shouldn't be substantially higher or something else?
Through you, Chair. That denomination was actually set as a result of a review of the surrounding municipalities, but also in conjunction with review of what we expect for people who we charge underneath our dog bylaw. So our dog control bylaw, when a dog attacks another dog, we have set fines based on that, which are due to be reviewed because they are substantially lower. But when we look at it in comparison, the threshold has to be enough to be considered deterrent, but not enough to be considered punitive, which means we kind of have to walk that thin line of what that is. But if council does feel like this is not a substantial enough amount, we can absolutely revisit it. It is entirely up to the will of council.
Thank you. And if I could just follow up on that. So in doing so, I guess it would be, if I felt that way and council felt that way, to send it back for review for those two items. Is that kind of what the gist of what you're saying?
Yeah, through you, Chair, if that is something that council wishes, we can absolutely review the number. The set fines have been approved in principle by the ministry already, but they don't look at the actual denomination of it. So that is something that is a very simple amendment.
Thank you.
I'll wait and
Okay.
see what others are saying around the table, but then I might come back to this, okay?
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Manager Hill, I went through the 38 bylaws, if you will, in the city, and is this consistent with other municipalities throughout Ontario, or did we kind of design our top 38? And the other question is, just the fine, $350. So let's say there's a family at Riverside or Westwicks Park, and it's a nice day in July, and if there's over 25 people and they don't have a permit for a get-together, like a family picnic, the fine is $350. How much is it to actually get the permit?
Through you, Chair, I am actually not familiar with what the cost of that permit would
Okay.
be. However, when we talk about those things in those instances, one thing that really needs to be addressed and assessed in the moment is officer discretion. So
Yeah, okay,
it's
great.
reviewed on a case by case.
And 27 is swim, bathe in any fountain, pond, lake, or stream. That's $350. And if you play golf or strike a golf ball, it's $350. And are these posted anywhere? And who came up with the figures for the fines?
Through you, Chair. So we do have some general signage that speaks to the most prevalent issues that we experience. So a lot of those would be on there. We do have some signs regarding the fishing. We do have some signs regarding the golfing in parks. If you want to make a full comprehensive list of all of the prohibitions, you would need quite a large sign. But we do often rely on common sense. That parks are kind of intended for passive recreation. As soon as you start disturbing other people who may be using a park, then we are likely into some of these more obscure ones. As for the fines, like I said to Councillor Henderson, they were just taken through a review of surrounding municipalities.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Henderson?
Thank you through you. And I guess what I'd like to do is perhaps send this back to staff, if I could get support around the table, to have at least 17 and 19 reviewed. Ideally, I would like to see those 10 full to that. When it comes to killing or injuring or trapping an animal, to me that $400 just doesn't even scrape the barrel on that one. So I'll ask maybe the clerk to provide me some guidance here on this.
We have two choices. We can do a friendly amendment to change the numbers or defer it to come back.
Well,
Would you like?
tough call. I think I'd like to defer it to come back and have staff review it again with these things in mind. Just 17 and 19 are the ones I'm concerned with at this point, and I feel that they really need to be increased substantially to have an impact. I think that's fairly significant and severe.
Do we have a seconder then to defer, come back? Councillor Sue? I'll ask all in favor. Questions? Councillor Carr, sorry.
Thank you. Just through you, is the intent of the motion then to send the entire set fine list back, or to pass them with the exception of those two? Because there's a lot of issues in this set fines for parks, and I would hate to see us not have the set fines in place, because then this would essentially, in a lot of ways, handcuff enforcement side of things. Fines are a tool that can be used, particularly if there's repeat offenders or non-compliance, and I would hate to see all of these items suddenly sit in abeyance for a period of time. So I'm looking for clarification as to the intent behind the sending back of this item.
Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, through you again, Madam Chair. I'm quite comfortable with just accepting the majority of them, with the exception of 17 and 19, and just sending those two items back for review.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor then to exclude 17 and 19, but approve the rest. Seconder, Councillor Sue. All in favor? Carried, thank you. 8A5, feeding of pigeons bylaw set fines. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Bylaw Enforcement Report number MBECS 2025-35, feeding of pigeons set fines, Council approved the proposed set fines under the Provincial Offences Act for feeding of pigeons bylaw, and that the appropriate documentation be submitted to the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Kelly, a seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 8A6, active transportation bylaw set fines. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Bylaw Enforcement Report number MBECS 2025-37, active transportation bylaw set fines, Council approved the proposed set fines under the Provincial Offences Act for the active transportation bylaw, and that the appropriate documentation be submitted to the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Brown, seconder. Councillor Thompson, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Non-application of the Line Fences Act and apportioning costs of division fences, refer to item 9.3. The resolution reads that pursuant to the City Clerk's report number CC 25-14, non-application of the Line Fences Act and apportioning cost of division fences, the appropriate bylaw be brought forward to and provide that the Line Fences Act, except Section 20 thereof, shall no longer apply to the lands within the municipal boundaries of the City of Belleville. That the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for the apportioning of costs of division fences, and that fees and charges bylaw be amended to remove the fees associated with application for fence viewers and appeal of fence viewers' decision. Can I have a motion to approve? Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Sue, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. 8B, consent items. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed for consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. I'll just go around. Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
Councillor Brown?
No, thank you.
Councillor Henderson?
No, thank you.
Councillor Sue?
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis?
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
8B2.
8B2? Okay, motion that consent items 8B1 through 2 to, I guess we only have 8B1 be approved with the exception of 8B2. A mover, Councillor Carr, seconder, Mayor Ellis. Discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Just a quick question on the funds that are available. When they apply, who makes the decision whether it's approved or not approved? That's just a pretty simple. So is it staff that makes that decision on the funding that's applied for?
So a lot of it for accelerated approvals will be staff through the guidelines of the program. for example, like accessory dwelling units. If someone
But-
wanted to provide funding, it wouldn't come
But
to council.
down here, if a merchant wants to do some work am I in the right area?
Yeah, so if you're talking about the facade grant?
Yep.
Yeah, and it'll continue on the same way that it always has, so staff
Oh.
does approve that, and
Yep.
it's very quick and efficient.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
We have a mover and a seconder for 8A1. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. 8B2, Councillor Thompson has, okay. Seconder for 8B2, Councillor Brown. All in favor? Carried, thank you. 8C, information items. Council may adopt information items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. I'll just go around the opposite way. Councillor Thompson.
8C 1B.
8C1B. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis.
8C 2A.
Councillor Sue.
No, thank you.
Councillor Henderson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Brown.
No, thank you, already pulled.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Resolution as information items be approved with the exception of 8C1B and 8C2A. Can I have a mover? Councillor Carr, seconder. Councillor Sue. Discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Bay Quinte Regional Marketing Board, at their last meeting, I requested that we submit an 8-month report to council because it all entails money that's filtered through the 4% for accommodation tax that's gone through the city. So I've asked them to put it on the agenda, and if there's any question, I'd be happy to try to answer it. If not, I just want to make sure that people are aware that the work that they're doing is great work, and they will supply this. And tourism is up, the hotel rooms are up, so it's a good report. So I just wanted to make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I called on you just a little too early. Can I have a motion to approve the motion as amended with 8C1B and 8C2A, please? Thank you. We have a mover and a seconder. Any other discussion on 8C1B? We just need a seconder for that. Councillor Sue, all in favor? Carried. 8C2A. Mayor Ellis, you pulled that.
Okay, I just have a few questions on this to Director Reed. In the question, I know that recycling has changed in our city, and what is our process? I assume that we are now paying still for nonprofit organizations or are we billing them, I guess, ourselves? And then what changes, is there changes to commercial also that maybe we should be aware of?
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Ellis and all of council. So as you all know, in the middle of July of this year, we transitioned to the producer responsibility process for recycling. So recycling is no longer a municipal responsibility for most products. The legislation that was passed deems non-eligible locations as like resident or non-residential, like commercial, non-for-profits, like noted in the County of Peterborough's resolution. So currently, I mean, in the past with Quinte Waste Solutions, we had been providing that service to a lot of these locations. So we wanted to keep the service level the same because part of our sustainability as a municipality is diverting some waste. So it is costing us about $100,000 per year to collect from these non-eligible locations, which include locations like on North Front Street, Dundas, and and again Gleaners and those locations.
So basically, the province has or the consumers have, or producers have picked this up, but they fully haven't picked it up from what you're stating. And so what Peterborough is saying, to ask the, I guess, the province to fix this? Is this what they're asking?
Yes, so County of Peterborough is requesting the province to change and amend the legislation, and from a staff perspective, we're very supportive of that. I think there is definitely a gap. The premise of the producer responsibility legislation was to get the producers to pay for the products they're selling and producing, and this is certainly a gap in the legislation. And in our meetings we've been having with CMO, which is Circular Materials Ontario, who oversees the recycling programs now, we've been bringing it up at the producers aren't wanting to pay it, so it's been left to municipalities to make a decision on what level of service they're going to continue.
So what are most cities doing, or are they deciding, I guess, in their current budget of what we're doing now to, I guess this is a budget item, so what are we, I guess that's an unfair question. What are most communities doing with it, do you know?
A lot of our smaller neighboring municipalities have chose not to collect it. And it's kind of a mixed bag throughout the province on whether they do pick it up or they don't pick it up. So there's no consistent approach.
So how would the nonprofits and the commercial businesses, it would be up to them to take it to a depot, or where would they drop it off, or?
They would be responsible to contact a service provider to produce or have recycling bins, large-scale ones for their pickup. But currently, we are picking it up, but if we chose not to through the budgeting process, moving forward, they would be responsible.
So that budget line is around 100,000 is what I understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's the reason why I wanted to support it. Director explained it. I don't have to talk anymore. So if I could get somebody to support it and pass it.
We just need a seconder. Councillor Carr, or any other questions? Councillor Carr.
Not questions, but here's and I think there'll be some discussion later on some other issues that the province does, but here's a prime example where the province rolls something out, and the premier will say, well, we don't want to take any money out of anybody's pockets.
Says friends.
Friends, right. His friends, oh no, he gives money to his friends. But the reality is he's always saying that he doesn't want to take money out of people's pockets. But here's a program rolled out by the province where that's exactly happening. Because here with these nonprofit groups that are not within that producer responsibility program, if it's not for municipalities picking up the difference, then they're going to incur the costs. And incurring costs when they're trying to, in this case, this resolution out of Peterborough has to do with the fact that food banks are having to deal with recycling issues. And so here's a prime example where what we're doing here in Belleville is essentially the provincial program is taking money out of taxpayers' pockets to pay for something that is a provincial initiative. So I wanted to second this motion because I support what's being called on here is the province needs to provide the necessary funding to the responsibility pay program, or get the producers to pick this up and to pay for it since they are generating the recycling, but to turn around and to have that cost incurred on a food bank who's trying to feed people in a community because it can't make ends meet. To me, I think the province needs to step up on this one. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing this one forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, this is really for non-profit organizations. It's centered in. Mr. Reid, so the blue box, what happens with the commercial? So we're going to be picking up the commercial blue box?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Thompson, yes, we currently are. The transition occurred in July of 2025. We wanted to provide a level of service that was consistent through the transition period. Again, this gap in legislation, and, quite frankly, from our perspective, it's, legislation is very discriminatory against businesses and non-for-profits because they really left them out of the equation. And it would be nice to see a change in legislation. So from a staff perspective, we support it.
Yeah, so, and I certainly agree with the nonprofit, but again, we're going to load this onto the small retailer that's trying his darndest to make a living, and now they're going to have to dispose of the cardboard they collect. And so I would, and I don't know whether I can get an amendment to that, but this to include commercial property also. If there's no friendly amendment, then I...
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. If the mayor and Councillor Carr agree, we can do a friendly amendment.
Procedure-wise, I'm not sure. I'd have to do this, clerk. I don't think we can change. We'd have to write a whole new letter of support, I think. I don't know who the clerk to send that to.
If that's the case, then I'm fine with it, but I just want to make a point that the small retailer is being jabbed again.
You'll have time at the budget to talk about that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call for the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. 8C3, items of interest, we have none tonight, and 8D, rise and report. The resolution that Committee of the Whole does now rise and return to Council at 5:08. Mover? Councillor Sioux, seconder. Councillor Thompson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright Miller. Need a resolution that bylaws number 2025-181, 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, and 189 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Henderson, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. New business. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. As the briefing document was circulated for everyone yesterday, to provide some context to this motion, and as the motion itself is quite long, I'm going to ask you to bear with me, but it's an important resolution coming forward. So the motion pertains to Resolution 90-25, Bill 68, and Environmental Registry, posting number 025-1257. Whereas the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks has posted Environmental Registry number 25-1257, proposed boundaries for regional conservation of regional consolidation of Ontario's conservation authorities, proposing to reduce the Ontario's 36 conservation authorities to 7 regional entities, as part of a broader restructuring that would create a new Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency to provide centralized oversight and direction under the Consolidation of the Conservation Authorities Act. And whereas under this proposal, the Quinte Conservation Authority would be merged into a new Eastern Lake Ontario Conservation Authority, together with Central Lake Ontario CA, Kawartha Region CA, Ontonabe Region CA, Ganaraska Region CA, Lower Trent Region CA, and the Crow Valley CA, forming a single organization stretching from Oshawa, Kawartha Lakes, Hastings County, Tyendinaga Mohawk Reserve, and areas within Lennox and Addington. Whereas the Quinte Conservation Board and the municipality of the City of Belleville acknowledges and supports the provincial goals of improved efficiency, consistency, and fiscal prudence in conservation delivery, but find the proposed Eastern Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority configuration would, 1, create a geographically vast and administratively complex entity, joining northern, rural, and fast-growing southeastern municipalities through the province with little shared watershed connection or economic alignment. 2, dilute or eliminate a local accountability and municipal partnership, contrary to the principle that decisions are best made closest to home and to the communities that they serve. 3, to generate substantial transition expenses, including human resources, governance restructuring, IT migration, and policy harmonization that would divert resources from the frontline service delivery and delay measurable outcomes, contrary to the province's own business planning principle of value for money, cost containment, and service continuity. And 4, risk greater uncertainty and delays for our developers, builders, and farmers, as local permitting offices and staff familiar with site conditions are being replaced by distant regional structures, making it more difficult for applicants to obtain timely local advice, resolve condition issues, or expedite housing and infrastructure approvals that support the province's Build Faster agenda. And whereas the Quinte Conservation Authority has already undertaken significant modernization work aligned with the provincial objectives, including numerous internal reviews to identify opportunities for cost savings and efficiencies, including the consolidation of 3 local conservation authorities within the watershed into a single authority. Conversion of redundant and non-mandatory positions to frontline mandatory service positions, improvements in transparency and client communication, strong local representation of all municipalities that reside within the entire watershed, demonstrating that meaningful modernization can occur within the current watershed-based governance framework. And whereas the Council recognizes that the Quinte Conservation Authority serves a multitude of Eastern Ontario communities facing vastly different climatic, hydrological, and infrastructure realities, and being surrounded by the Bay of Quinte, Lake Ontario, and a number of local lakes and rivers with properties subject to coastal erosion and flood-prone areas, which would be ill-served by a larger overarching administrative structure extending over more than 28,000 square kilometers. Therefore, be it resolved, the municipality of the City of Belleville does not support the proposed Eastern Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority boundary configuration in the Environmental Registry Notice 025-1257, and the City of Belleville instead endorses further provincial evaluation of a more focused, specific model as geographically coherent, cost-effective, and local accountability alternative that advances the government's priorities of efficiency, red tape reduction, and timely housing delivery. And the City of Belleville requests that the ministry engage directly with the affected municipalities and conservation authorities across Eastern Ontario before finalizing any consolidation boundaries and legislative amendments. And then finally, this resolution with a letter from the Mayor be forwarded to the Environmental Registry of Ontario consultation and to the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks and his opposition critics, to MPP Tyler Alsop, Bay of Quinte, MPP Rick Brzee, Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Warden Bob Mullen, Hastings County, Chief Ardon Miracle, the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, CIO Brad McNevin, Quinte Conservation Authority, and Conservation Authority. And I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Carr. Discussion? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, and I agree with the motion, but I'm going to put a negative spin on it. This Premier hasn't listened to anybody yet, and he wants to amalgamate, he'll amalgamate. We did with the health unit. That wasn't approved really by local, but I approved the letter going. But we have to be forceful if we're going to get any headway. He took out the speed cameras. We amalgamated cities with no real follow-up with the municipalities that we amalgamated years ago. Really no consultation with the health unit. There was some. It was going to be a cost saving. Well, first budget come in, it was up. So I come in, we're sending that, but I'll tell you, this Premier is gung-ho and he's going to do what he wants. And I hope that he listens to us, because I think it's important that we keep a smaller portfolio of areas that we're working with, because it's important locally. But I certainly doubt our Premier is willing to listen to anybody. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kelly, did you have your hand up, or anybody? Let Councillor Brown speak. Anybody else? Okay, Councillor Brown, close it.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate where my fellow councillor is coming from in terms of there seems to be an awful lot of legislation that's being rushed through. I think it's fair, and it's one of the things that we outlined in the briefing document that was provided. This actually surprisingly appeared on October 31st. Here we are, November the 24th, and we're trying to put pressure on. So the motion that's been put before you in the briefing document that's been put before you, if passed today, will be shared with our CIO at the Conservation Authority, and I would encourage him to share it with all of the other municipalities served by this Conservation Authority so that we can put as much pressure as we can from a municipal level in a joint voice. I think it's also fair to say the environmental registry commentary, the public consultation, is open until December the 22nd. However, if I was a betting woman, I would say that this will likely go to second and third reading before they recess December 17th. So even the timing itself is suspect. So the best that we can do at this stage is to put as much pressure on in terms of understanding that our watershed and our Quinte Conservation and Charity are one with all of the municipalities involved in it. And if you have an opportunity to read the briefing document, you will see that not only is Quinte Conservation well managed and has great staff, but in fact we are becoming the leaders within many industries, water source protection, where other conservation authorities are actually coming to our conservation authority to seek leadership and address things that they could do better. I think that there's an opportunity here in terms of, could there be some consultation, and are there some things that we could change or improve or standardize, not differently than what we suggested with automated speed enforcement, but nonetheless, I think it's incumbent upon us. This isn't just about somebody's pocketbook. This is about the well-being of our community and all of the communities that surround us within this watershed. I think equally so, it's important that this is flood mitigation. This is about managing the waterfront. This is about coastal erosion and such. And to try and do that over 28,000, more than 28,000 square kilometers in what they are proposing is ludicrous. I mean, we struggle here in the city of Belleville with our amount of geography that we cover. Imagine taking that and multiplying it by 2,000% over what we try and do as a municipality. So I would ask that use your voices. This is one way that I'm asking for support, to use our collective municipal voice in how do we move this forward. And certainly if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, then pass the word along, because we need to put pressure on this. It's happening far too fast. Thank you.
Thank you. I will, process, okay, go.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to speak on this and kind of reinforce a couple things. It's interesting, the province has a tendency to create a problem and then come in with a solution. We've seen that with the health unit. There was, of course, dangling a little bit of some amalgamation money. That will quickly get evaporated, but we've already seen, as Councillor Thompson points out, that area rates are going to go up for public health. So the province is taking money out of you, the property taxpayer, out of your pocket with that amalgamation. Here they've called on the fact that, and if you look at the environmental registry, it talks about the fact that there's a patchwork of standards in service delivery. So going from 36 to 7, and this conservation authority would go from our boundary to Oshawa and north. Large swath of land, but they say that there's a patchwork of standards and service delivery across the province. However, Quinte Conservation amalgamated 3 separate entities into one in the 90s. Interestingly enough, the current guidelines for permitting, because that's the other thing that they talked about, performance. The current guidelines is 30 days for a routine permit, 90 days for a major project. Quinte Conservation's timeline, averaging in the last 3 years, 14 days. Where have we heard that before, where staff become the whipping post for a problem that doesn't exist? The province has a tendency to do this all the time. The data proves that wrong. There's other information in here too about outdated and fragmented systems, administrative duplication, need for more accountability and transparency. Like, I'm sorry, but the province is absolutely reaching, trying to create a problem here where it doesn't exist. Now, having said that, are there conservation authorities in Ontario, one of maybe 36 or 2 of 36 that have issues? Perhaps. But the better thing for the province would be to do is to provide that overarching guidelines and structure so that the conservation authorities can operate under that umbrella instead of trying to merge and amalgamate, because time and time again when those amalgamations occur, and again, public health is a prime example where it's going to cost you more as the property taxpayer. So I think the other important thing, Mayor, and I'll close with this, is that we'll submit our submission, but I would plead to the residents to join our voices, to fill out the environmental registry, to contact your MPP now before they break for Christmas, and let them know that there's detrimental effects on this, and they're also should be concerned about the associated costs that will no doubt rise with this proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. I will call the vote on this. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any other new business? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, back in June, we had supported a letter from the City of Pickering to certainly get the province to increase the ODSP rate and Ontario Works rate. Some of the families that are on ODSP or Ontario Works continue to struggle meeting basic needs with the cost of living. So we had sent a letter on July 23rd to local MPPs, Tyler Alsop and Rick Brzee, and I'm just doing a little homework. Did we ever hear back from our MPPs, because we copied them on a letter that we sent in supporting this to raise the basic income that families are living on under those programs. City Clerk Doug Urban, did we ever receive anything back?
The clerk.
Through your worship, nothing has been received at this point.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and I just have a little bit here. I guess, Councillor Carr, did you have something, or? Yeah, you go ahead and I'll do mine.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to do this as a notice of motion, but on your direction, I'll do it under new business. I've got a motion to present, and then if I have a seconder, I'll speak to it. I move that a special meeting of council be convened in January 2026 for the purpose of a roundtable meeting with MPP Tyler Alsop, MPP Rick Brzee, MP Chris Millette, and MP Shelby Cramp-Nyman to discuss the following items: more consultation and engagement with the city on legislation related to planning, development, and other matters impacting the city, legislative changes in government programs surrounding housing and homelessness, funding and government expectations for homelessness, mental health, and healthcare initiatives, including primary care, funding responsibility being downloaded either directly or indirectly to the city, communication with their offices regarding matters that are outside jurisdictional responsibility of council, and finally, previous resolutions that were passed by council or correspondence sent with no responses to date from their offices.
Second by Councillor Brown. Discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. This is not my idea, actually. In fact, the City of Windsor just conducted the roundtable with their MPs and MPPs just last week. That is available online to see, but here's an opportunity where the many unaddressed correspondence, we've passed dozens of resolutions calling on both levels of government. Many of the items that aren't our responsibility, but being close to the people, we hear them day in and day out. We get emails and phone calls. It's time to have a very frank discussion as community leaders to wrestle some of these issues to the ground, to get clarification on where funding is, to get clarification on where results are, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, as Councillor Kelly points out, just simply to get a response from the things that we've asked for. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, on this subject, I guess?
Yes, it is. did we not just set up a committee with the mayor to deal with some of these issues? And are we trying to override that committee and just convolute it and make it more complicated? So I would like to hear the mayor speak on this because I think it has some reflection on the committee that we're, and I'm fortunate to sit on it, but we're trying to work through some of those, and some of those ideas that Councillor Carr's brought forward was going to be with some of our discussions. So I'm not going to support the.
I don't see it at all that way. I think that Councillor Carr looked at this and examined it as in Windsor, you said, Councillor Carr, and that if we could get them all together at a table, I'm not saying that they're going to come, they're not answering our letters. So I think that this is a great idea. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you.
So
Through you, Mayor.
I guess I'll have to let you speak again, Councillor Carr, at the end. So process-wise, we've gone through this, but if you got something new to add, and I shouldn't have let Councillor Thompson speak, but let's, Councillor Kelly, go.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I want to thank Councillor Carr for raising this and proposing this for January. I mean, we sit around here and we're going around in circles. I could stand here for 25 minutes and talk about discrepancies and how we don't hear back, and it's frustrating. We talk about, last week it was, breaking news was the Belleville Police Service. I sit on public health, and Councillor Carr referred to that tonight. Closures, offices in our area in the new year. We see it in healthcare. We see it around the table here that for doctor recruitment, nurse practitioners, primary care, thousands in our community and around the area. We see it in EMS, long-term care. There's so many struggles, and it comes back to the municipality, and then you send letters to MPPs and you don't hear back. It's not a personal attack on them, but it's an attack on why don't we get a response? I'm sure if we added up, we'd have quite a few letters that we've sent to the MPPs in our area. It's a simple ask. It's either yes or no. It's frustrating. Maybe I'm not speaking for the rest of us, but I find it extremely frustrating when we don't get a response, we don't get the support. We see it in police, health. Last week, MP Millette met with the Food for Learning folks. We know how they struggle. They don't get the provincial funding that they need. The province thinks it's great. Well, we'll give you $70,000 for the year and enjoy yourself, and it's a photo op. The reality is, thousands of kids a day in Hastings Prince Edward School Board, Algonquin Lakeshore Catholic School Board, are using that program. And the government seems to think a $70,000 check is photo op, and it is, but they're not answering to the bell, and we never hear from them, and it's really frustrating.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll make it quick. It wasn't that long ago that here I called out the MPP for the Bay of Quinte, and the following day he went on the radio and called me out and explained and offered that I never picked up the phone and called. I think it's fair to say that this motion would be, we're picking up that phone and calling because we all have frustrations here. Similarly, I think if what's been happening over the course with Bill 33, with Bill 60, Bill 68, and others where there's no consultation and they're being rushed through, I think it's incumbent upon us, the people who are closest to the residents, the taxpayers, of being their voice and being able to stand up from some of these. If they're not going to do public consultations, then we need to be expressing what our outcomes are and what we can best do to protect the taxpayers. Thank you.
Councillor Carr, do you add, or can I call the vote?
If you could bear with me for 1 second.
I'm timing you. 1 second.
That's fine. Maybe you should put some money in the budget and put a clock up here, and we could just run the clock that way. Just very briefly here again, and the intent behind this is not to be a gripe session with our MPPs and MPs. It's simply that, as you know, Mayor, a lot of issues come across our desks here. We pass the resolutions. The community looks to us to solve issues. It's interesting, in the last community survey that went out for the capital budget, one of the largest themes in there was we weren't investing enough in homelessness. That's not in our portfolio that we sit here, and yet we're tasked with that. So we need to have a very frank discussion, like I said, as community leaders with our counterparts as MPPs and MPs, to work collectively as community leaders to come up with some solutions. Otherwise, we're just going to have to stop writing, and we're going to have to stop passing resolutions and just simply post a phone number where residents should call. But I think at the end of the day, we are invested either directly or indirectly, or through just passive don't do anything, and so it's downloading onto us, but it's costing the taxpayers money, and therefore I think it's important that we have the conversation. Very briefly, the Building Faster Fund, they come down with the check and we are getting money for it, but for housing bills after that, staff tell us that we're losing approximately $2 million in revenue. That's $2 million of the residents' taxpayers' money coming out of their pockets, and the province is doing that with that legislation. Now, I remember a time when the Premier said that we will make communities whole. Well, we need to ask that question of our MPPs. Just make us financially whole, that's all. So again, I think this, again, needs to be a focused and very constructive conversation to deal with the pressing issues facing our community. And I'd ask for a recorded vote, please.
Okay. Go ahead, Clerk.
Councillor Enright Miller,
Yes.
Councillor Henderson,
Yes.
Councillor Kelly,
Yes.
Councillor Sue,
Yes.
Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Councillor Brown,
Yes.
Councillor Carr,
Yes.
Mayor Ellis.
Yes.
Carried by 8, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, any other new business? I just want to comment on, in light of the operating budget of the Belleville Police Service on, I believe Friday or Thursday, it was adopted by the board, of which I am a member, had a 15% increase compared to what, and I discussed this at the police board meeting, council's mandate for us, an external agency, was 5%, which is going to be a tough one for some budgets, or whether attainable. I said in open session at the police board that the process would be for this to come back to council. It would come to budget in February, and from there, council would have a decision to make, whether that is to send it back as we have done before, for the police board to look at. Unfortunately, if we wait till February, we're in a situation that we won't be able to print tax bills. So I would like, and I talked to the chief today and the chair, I've asked them to reconsider and look at the budget. I want to ensure you that it is understood that this is not a comment on the exceptional work of the men and women of the service and the audit committee or the budget committee that did the budget, but it's rather to ensure, an effort to ensure that affordability for the community we all serve is considered to the fullest extent possible. So that's what I'd just like to tell you tonight, that I've asked the chief and the chair to look at it, not saying that anything will happen with it, but this way we can fully discuss it at our February budget meeting. Okay? With that, is there any motions? None. Notice of motions? None. Announcements, proclamations, November 25th, International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December 10th, Human Rights Day as 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Month of December is Christian Heritage Month. December 3rd is International Day of Persons with Disability. I now need a confirmation bylaw, that bylaw 2025-190, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council meeting held on November 24, 25, be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Enright Miller, seconded by Councillor Brown. Discussion, all in favor, carried. I need a motion to adjourn at 5:34. Moved by Councillor Henderson, seconded by Councillor Carr. All in favor, carried. Thank you.